George, is that I see a lot of I guess a lot of challenges when it comes to education. My name is Ahmed Al-Najjar.
And this is Monday Legal. My guest for today is the famous Yosr Hamza. She is the Director, Legal and Compliance in Gartner, Middle East. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for. I know very well how busy you are in all the work, family, and other social events that you handle, and we're very happy to have you here.
Likewise, I'm very happy as well to be here with everyone today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Yosr. Well, what's the major benefit that an in-house lawyer would, whether a woman or not, in the law would benefit from joining an ACC, for example?
The community, because the community and the network, the value of the information I've got through the ACC, my community, like you get a lot of contacts, you get to speak to a lot of people in the community. The value they add sometimes is beyond what you get from normal private practice persons, because a lot of times we get I'll take an example of the regional headquarter requirement.
I'm not getting offended,
huh? No, nothing against it. But just like, it's like, for example, someone has the regional headquarter requirement and what kind of exceptions he applied for.
Right.
It's these things that are not legal. They're not necessarily legal things.
They're mainly administrative or corporate governance,
or things that are not by law, but these are all things that are practice. And we are a region where we're on steroids when it comes to laws and regulations, but there's a lot of things that are all by practice.
Yeah.
What kind of exceptions we get, what kind of not exceptions you don't, like how does it apply in reality? What's your experience in this? These are things you'll not find in the law. These are things that all in-house community just get to experience, and we share that experience. The second thing I've done is, and I think I didn't realize the value until it happened, is we get to share profiles when someone is hiring. Like, this is someone I met before. I think they have a good quality. We start referring people to each other. I've personally hired someone for 6 months as a maternity cover that was actually referred to me by one of my mentees. So that's actually one of the benefits of having a mentor-mentee relationship. But that person is also active in the ACC. So you get to experience that too. Like the community, we get to trust each other. You get to know about each other. And therefore, we can easily start like referring each other. So it's the community and the network that you get to build that is so invaluable. And I think I got to build that globally, not just locally. I think that's where the most value I personally took out of it, because I feel, one, I feel my role is not restricted to MENA. Two, I enjoy meeting people. And I think after my kid's diagnosis, I've been very hybrid for such a long time that I wanted to meet people beyond my jurisdiction and learn about their experiences. And that was invaluable. No matter how someone tells me, that was one of the most invaluable things, because the more you get exposed to people outside your community, who challenge your thoughts and biases, that's invaluable. And this is something I got to experience through the ACC myself. And I would argue that, if you're an in-house lawyer, try to do it, but get engaged, not just with the chapter locally, do it with the people outside. They will challenge your thought process. They will challenge the way that you think about your own department. And that's something that for me, it was invaluable in its entirety.
On top of all the roles and the duties that you have, on top of having a family and being a caregiver, I saw recently an app, and I thought maybe it's connected to you. It's called the Yosr app. Is that yours?
So yeah, my friends and I are working on this thing, and I can share the background. One, I know it like the name is like
sounds like your name.
Sounds like my name, but I think the idea is that I am a caregiver to a kid who is entirely disabled, and it's been 5 years now. The thing is about it is I struggled. I struggled not because of the diagnosis. It's a journey on its own. But I struggled to find information. I struggled to find community. I struggled to find what equipment he needs. All the information that makes my journey focused and easy was absolutely all over the place. And because I'm a lawyer by practice, I managed to do my own research, and I became almost like a mini doctor of my kids' diagnosis because it's so rare. Like, I go to doctors, they Google it in front of me now. I became okay with that thing. But the idea is, there is an area of opportunity where not every person who is in my shoes who would have to go through the same cycle again. It just doesn't make sense. It's illogical. It's time to change that narrative for caregivers. So the name came out of the fact that we wanted to make it easy. So Yosr in Arabic means easy.
Yeah.
We want to make that journey of caregiving easy. We want the caregivers to just focus their time and be there for their kids when they're still alive. I was told my kid would only be, survive 3 months old. So, and here we are 5 years. I want to be able to enjoy those 5 years without having to worry about what's the next equipment I have to do, what's the next doctor I have to visit. I want everything to be handled in one area. I want that to be a repository for people like me to, whenever they need some help, they go there, support, nannies, even if it's funeral arrangements. I know it's hard to say this, but if it's lawyer arrangements, funeral arrangements, nurseries, schools, we need to be that in one area instead of going and having to Google where's the next school to go in Dubai. So we can focus on our journeys, our kid, enjoy the quality time with them while they're still there, because we never know. Either we might not be there the next time or they may not be there. And I gotta say, I know it's a hard conversation to have, but that's the reality of that journey. It will happen and we have to be okay with it, and you just have to figure it out. So helping the parents enjoy quality time with their kids, making their kids, their journey a little bit easier, and having it as a one-stop shop. We're still at the very beta version, so we're working on at the back end, making sure what features we want to launch first, because it's a huge plan for us. We have a huge plan for the application. So we're working on the beta version on what feature do you want to launch first. But the idea for us on long term is that this is one-stop shop for caregivers, by the caregivers, social enterprise, nonprofit. So caregivers can focus only on their kids and have that quality time while they're still alive.
It's really inspiring. And thank you so much for working on this app, and I think it's gonna help the society pretty much first to educate a lot of people who don't know about the struggles that some of the, not just lawyers, working moms and families about things like this, but in general, having such an application or a solution would be amazing. Let me take you to one step back. What did you figure out during the journey that are the legal rights of a caregiver towards her job or towards her company? Because a lot of women out there who mothers, or a lot of families out there who might think that I'm going to lose my job because of that, or I'm not going to be able to accommodate my work to my life as usual. However, that I understand there might be some legal rules that help the working mothers and parents who have a special condition in the family like that. And if there's nothing, what do you suggest that comes into the law?
I think one thing I hope more employers. So one thing I think the UAE did beautifully is that at least we have a non-discrimination rule within the law that says no one can be discriminated, for any reason, even if it's your condition. So at least we have a generic law that applies. Now, I recognize that that's hard to apply in practice, or at least prove. But my ask, at least for employers in general. Now, for me, I was one of the lucky that maybe my company didn't know. So I went, I remember when I went to my manager back then, I think luckily enough, back then for me, it was COVID. So everyone was at home. So it didn't feel different when I told them I want to work flexibly, because everyone was stuck at home. Everyone was there on their desks. We can only see cameras. So if it was only because I shared it, somewhat my management knew. They could have not known for more couple of years. No one would have even knew that I'm taking a call because I was at the physiotherapist, my kid, for his session. The thing is, there's a lot of missing rules. one thing I recommend for a lot of employers is actually listen. You know, we all forget that we are all temporarily abled. Someone will have an accident and maybe will have their leg broken. Someone will have an accident and maybe have something in their leg.
I understand very well that in the law that we kind of covered as if there are enough regulations and laws and terms in the law itself and in any employment contract, what happens if I get sick or you get sick. But I don't think there are enough regulations and terms that covers the people that we care of, and father, mother, children, husband, things like that. So, and I understand your occasion is not a temporary thing that someone has a flu. No, you're a caregiver. You will have to take care of your child in a specific way. I don't think you're able to go to the office just as anybody else. So do you recommend, or do you see that this is an important thing to be changed in the employment law?
Yes. So that actually takes me to the second level. If we can't confirm our own abilities, we can't also confirm and guarantee our kids and dads and fathers and parents' abilities. And all of these things actually put restrictions on the people. You're losing a lot of talent by just abiding by the fact that there are rules too, like that focuses on that. We need to be more human when we're actually drafting those laws and regulations, in my opinion. And that's across the Middle East, not just here. The entire law is it's great, by the way. I think but I think the law doesn't cater for the fact that we're human beings. It doesn't cater for the fact that someone will have to care for someone at some point, and they could be a really, really good talent. And if we don't offer them flexibility or, you know, being able to work certain hours or not being able to work remotely, we're going to lose them. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be seen as an exception. The fact that we're still seeing and calling those as special accommodations, as an exception, that I have to require an exception to work remotely, that's what makes the entire thing, like, people are scared to disclose their entire situations to their employers because they're afraid that people see it as an exception and maybe the employer will accept it or not because it's in the employer's discretion. But if we make it as a mandate, if we give those options in the law, we are humanizing the entire employment experience. We're humanizing our own employees, but also humanizing ourselves as employers.
Do you actually see in the caregiver community that there are employees who hide the status of their children or someone that they care about?
Sadly, yes. And some people actually had to leave their jobs because their employers didn't want to accommodate flexible working hours. You see that globally, by the way, not just in the region. Now, again, you have to understand that in our region, we don't have the facilities to care for kids like ours. We don't have trained nannies. You go and start asking on those moms groups, what is the right nanny to get in my home? Maybe that parent can't afford having a nanny. Why are we assuming that if you need to work, that you can actually afford it? Maybe that person can't afford the nanny, but they need the job. In fact, many of us as caregivers would actually do much better than any other employee because we need that job for our sanity, because it gives us a sense of purpose beyond caring for someone for our entire life. The lucky ones have been in employers who are more of a multinational, so the ones who have seen it globally and would be able to get some of those policies and put them in a local perspective. One thing I think we can do as companies, not just as legislators, is see what the other companies, like, globally is happening. Globally, there's a lot of great policies that we can adopt, such as working hours, such as, again, as legislators, some people are, in some states, are given options that they can get a caring nurse on the state's, expense. They can expend some of that. Some in the US have caregiving. They have like a certain number of days where they can actually care for someone, and they don't, this is not considered as their PTO. The fact that I have to use my own PTO when my kid is in hospital, I wouldn't say it's unfair, but again, it dehumanizes the entire employment experience. I think one key is when we're looking at the entire experience of the employment regulations is humanizing the entire employment experience. We're excluding an entire talent pool just because we're assuming that those people are not capable because they have a situation like mine. While they could be adding value, in fact, they are going to add value because their perspective is different. I think the second thing we need to consider is, even if the law doesn't change, as employers, offer options. Don't make them as an exception. Offer those options to your entire staff. Some people thrive in being in office. Some people will thrive being out of office. It is what makes them successful. If we can't trust our employees by having those choices, then in my opinion, that's the wrong environment. And that's a very personal opinion that has nothing to do with my employer. But we need to trust our employees by knowing how they can be successful. Is it working from a cafe? Is it working from office? Is it working from outside? Now, it differs, of course, between generations. It differs on your level of experience. I recognize that and I have to respect it. But in general, I'm talking about
from one person to the other as well. It's different.
Maybe it's someone, I remember during COVID, someone had got to be diagnosed with ADHD at his 40s, just because for such a long time, there was a lot of distractions that never had him understand a lot of the patterns in his behavior. Only when he was stuck in COVID on a desk that he started figuring out, like, there's something wrong here. And he actually got diagnosed with ADHD in his 40s. Just imagine, for his entire life, he didn't know this. Again, I remember for me, it took me a lot of time to be okay with this entire journey, and talking even about it on a podcast like this at the moment. I would have hoped that we have a longer maternity leave. I would have hoped that my husband gets the option too. The fact that we don't get those two dads as well, for me, I think it dehumanized his entire experience. It's like he was assumed that he accepted it. It was assumed that he has to be a strong person, a strong dad, a strong man. He can't cry. He can't grieve. What about him? He doesn't get to grieve that. He doesn't get any time with his kid. The fact that we don't give that option to dads too, I think that's wrong. The fact is, what if I actually passed away during my maternity, during the pregnancy, and he was the only one caring for the kid? Would we just ask him to go back to office just because he's a father, not the mother? I think that's just.
I don't think there's anything in the law that would cover for this more than one day for the funeral.
Because there is an assumption. There's an assumption. The fact that our kids will be, normal.
Healthy, able,
normal, can do everything. I think that's the fact that we're still assuming. I think that's wrong. And again, it excludes an entire population that still have to struggle and prove that they can do a lot of things. And in my opinion, we don't have to be in a position to prove who we are, to prove that we're capable, to prove that we can do the job. Why do I have to prove it if I actually did it before? If I did it before, what actually prevents me from doing it now? I think that's just, there's a lot of assumptions, and I think it's human nature because we're trying to put people in boxes. We need to listen to that community and understand their experience and start putting some regulations that actually caters for them, because it will not just benefit us, it will benefit the entire community. We raise a generation.
An idea came to my head right now, and maybe we take this chance to start something, to start to do something about it. What do you think of putting together a template or a model for internal regulations for companies, and we start actually giving it for free to companies who are big corporations who don't have this kind of regulation internally, and we can just tell them lawyer verified regulations for free, take it, apply it. And the more companies who will, let's say, endorse this idea and take it and implement it, and I think at a certain level it will come to the legislature one day.
Through the app, we're hopefully offering a lot of those free resources. I think the idea is that we want to create an ecosystem where it makes sense.
Right.
So we will start actually launching this hopefully through the application, where we have those resources, not just to the caregivers. We want to start catering for the people who care for those people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's doctors, it's nurseries, it's employers, and even at some point having that, a platform that offers opportunities to those caregivers who wants to work flexibly, who wants to work part-time, that they can see those employers and start applying for their jobs there as well. So it kind of, we're hopefully looking, to be honest, we're looking at the ecosystem at the moment.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, hopefully, inshallah, we'll have that for the application one day.
Best of luck. I'm very happy that you talked about it, and I'm very happy to look at all the legal angles and learn more and more about you. Every time we talk, we have a very interesting discussion, and I'm very happy we had you here.
I'm a very interesting person. Hopefully it was a useful discussion for the audience as well, and they got something out of it. And, you know, for me, for the ones who know me, humanize yourself. As lawyers, we tend to hide from who we are as people, and we think we just need to be professional, strong. We're humans. So humanize your entire experiences as lawyers. Hopefully that's my takeaway for you all today.
Thank you very much, Yosr. Thanks for coming. We really enjoyed.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you very much. This is your dose from Monday Legal. See you next week.